Hello learners and viewers, welcome to Environment Science course for senior secondary level for NIOS. This is live e-Vidya program for NIOS. I am Neelam Gupta, course coordinator of Environmental Science. Welcome you all in this program. Learners, as you remember, in our last program we have taken ecological principles. To better understand ecology, I assume that you have already understood some important concept of ecology. So, now we will move to the next topic. This is ecosystem. So, we will discuss about ecosystem. There is major component, energy flow, food chain, food web, ecological pyramid, ecological efficiency, and this is your lesson number 5 of your environmental science course. This lesson is under ecological concept and issues. This is module 2. This is lesson belong form to module 2. So, we will discuss about concept and component of an ecosystem and classification of ecosystem, that is natural and human modified ecosystem. We will also discuss food chain, food web and energy through terrestrial as well as aquatic ecosystem, and next we will discuss ecological pyramids and ecological efficiencies and growth of an ecosystem, and lastly we will discuss homeostasis and ecosystem balance. So, we will start. We know Earth is the only planet in the solar system that supports life. We already discussed origin of the evolution in Earth, and the part which is life sustenance is known as biosphere. And if we look from distance on the Earth, the different patches represents the large ecosystem or biomes. And what are biomes? Biomes are a suitable habitat for different types of organisms due to different physical conditions, and each biome is divided into many distinct functional units, which is called ecosystem. So, when we define ecosystem, so ecosystem is a self-functional, self-sustaining unit of nature to study ecosystem or ecology of the biosphere. This term was coined by A.G. Tinsley in 1935, and it encompasses complex interaction between its biotic and abiotic components. So, when we classify ecosystem, it may be natural as well as man-made or human-made ecosystem. So, when we talk about natural ecosystem, these ecosystems are totally dependent on radiation. In case of man-made ecosystem, it is also dependent on solar energy. Natural ecosystem provide us food, fodder, fuel and medicines, and also represent and also dependent on alternative sources of energy like wind, tide and rain. An example of the natural ecosystem is forest, coral reef, tidal estuaries. When we talk about man-made ecosystem, these ecosystems are dependent on fossil fuels. An example of man-made ecosystems are urban ecosystem and industrial ecosystem and many others. So, these are the major ecosystem of the biosphere. And biomes, when we talk about biomes, biome is a large naturally occurring community of flora and fauna occupying a major habitat and are maybe terrestrial or aquatic. When we talk about terrestrial, different types of forest, desert, grassland and tundra are the terrestrial ecosystem. In case of aquatic ecosystem, it may be freshwater ecosystem or marine water ecosystem. Now, we talk about the component of the ecosystems. So, we know there are two types of component, abiotic component and biotic component. Abiotic component includes physical factors, inorganic substances and organic substances, and biotic component includes producer, consumers and decomposers. When we talk about physical factors, it includes temperature, humidity, light and aquatic and atmospheric pressure. When we talk about inorganic substances, it includes water, oxygen, carbon dioxide and nitrogen and many other gases which are found in the atmosphere. Organic components or organic substances include are proteins, carbohydrates and lipids. When we talk about biotic component, it includes producers, consumers and decomposers. Producers are the green plants, they manufacture their own food, that is why they are known as autotrophs. Consumer totally depend on the food prepared by the autotrophs. That is why consumers are called as heterotrophs. Consumers are many types: herbivores feeding directly on plants, carnivores which eat other animals and omnivores feeding upon both plants and animals. When we talk about decomposers, this is also a biotic component. Decomposers are also known as saprotrophs, bacteria and fungi. They fed on that decompose and dead organic matters of the plant and animals by secreting enzymes outside their body on the decaying matter. Decomposers are also known as one other term, that is detrivores or detritus feeder. So, biosphere as well as biomes are very huge. So, that is why we cannot study it as a single entity. So, therefore, we can study ecological interaction in a small pond ecosystem. So, pond ecosystem showing its various components where for biotic and abiotic both. Look at the figure, and now we talk about the component of the ecosystem. As we already discussed, ecosystem, abiotic component and biotic component. Abiotic component includes physical and climatic conditions, factors, soil, inorganic, organic substances, and biotic component, producers, consumers and decomposers. We are just talking about different ecosystem, different component of an ecosystem. Now we will talk about pond ecosystem, component of a pond ecosystem. First we will talk about sunlight. Sunlight is a major source of heat and light energy which is most important for life on the planet Earth, and it controls all the physical and chemical activities or factors on the Earth. Second is precipitation or rain. Rain is precipitation is a result of condensation of atmospheric water vapors that on saturation fall on the surface of Earth under gravity. Moisture that is lifted or forced to rise over a layer of sub-freezing air at the surface may be condensed into clouds and rain. And main form of the precipitation are in drizzling, rain, sleet. Next component is soil. Soil has several layers, O, A, E, B, C and R. So, first we will talk O. O stand for organic matter. It is decomposed litter, layer of plant residue. A is a surface soil, this layer of mineral soil with most organic matter accumulation in organisms. E layer is a light colored layer, subsoil. Horizon is apparent at the base of the A horizon when elevation or transportation of dissolved or suspended material within the soil by the movement of water when rainfall exceeds evaporation is pronounced. Next is B soil. This layer accumulates iron, clay, aluminum and other organic compound. By the process of decomposing, that material is lower layer. Next is sea level is a layer of parent rock, layer of large unbroken rocks with more soluble compounds. R is a bedrock or R horizon denotes the layer of partially weathered bedrock at the base of the soil profile. So, unlike all layers, our horizon largely comprise continuous masses of hard rock that cannot be excavated by hand. When we talk about the biotic component, so biotic component includes producer, consumers and decomposers. Producers are all green plants that manufacture their own food in the entire ecosystem by the process of photosynthesis in the presence of sunlight, water, carbon dioxide, and they when we are talking about pond ecosystem. So, green plants are in the pond are floating microorganisms and plants and rooted plants. They are phytoplankton. Phytoplankton is a microscopic organisms abundant in pond that they make it look green in color. Example of phytoplanktons are Spirogyra, Eulothrix, Cladophora, diatoms and many other. And when we talk about the rooted plant in plant ecosystem, they are grasses in the grassland and trees in the forest ecosystem. But in case of pond ecosystem, they are Typha, Nymphia, Hydrilla. When we talk about consumers, we know consumers are fed directly or indirectly on autotrophs. In case of pond ecosystem, they are tadpole, snails, sunfish. And in the aquatic ecosystem like pond, zooplanktons are floating animals. Example of zooplanktons are Paramecium, amoeba, Aurelia and Daphnia. Netcons are also found in pond ecosystem or any aquatic ecosystem that can swim and navigate. Examples are fishes. Benthic animals like bottom dwellers, beetles, mite, mollusks and some crustaceans. In the terrestrial ecosystem, primary consumers are herbivores and secondary consumers are carnivorous animals like lion, fox, and herbivorous animals mostly cow, sheep, rabbit, elephant, grasshopper, zebra, all are terrestrial animals. When we talk about decomposers, we know decomposers are organisms that break down dead or decaying organisms, and in doing so they carry out the natural processes of decomposition. They can be micro decomposers and macro decomposers. When we talk about macro decomposers, so earth are the detritus feeders and feed on the soil containing the dead remains of plant and animals. Macro example is earthworm. They can break down the fine particles of soil and use as the source of energy. Microorganisms include bacteria and fungi. Those are found in soil, convert them finally into the soil nutrients. When we talk about the functions of ecosystem, we know ecosystems are complex dynamic system. They can perform certain functions: energy flow through food chain and food web, nutrient cycle, these are also called biogeochemical cycles, and ecological succession or ecosystem development, and homeostasis or feedback control mechanisms. These are the major functions of the ecosystem. First we talk about food chain. What is food chain? It's in series. In general, we will say series of organisms. So, transfer of food energy from the producer plants or autotrophs to a series of organisms with repeated eating and being eaten is known as food chain, and each step in the food chain is called trophic labor. And during this process of transfer of energy, some energy is lost in the system as a heat energy and is not available for the next trophic labor. So, there are 4 or 5 steps in the food chain, they are limited. So, autotrophs, they are the producer of the food for all the living organisms. As we know, they they are largely green plants and convert inorganic materials in the presence of solar energy by the process of photosynthesis into the chemical energy. Total rate at which the radiant energy is stored by the photosynthesis in the green plant is known as gross primary production, GPP. This is also known as the total photosynthesis or total assimilation. From the gross primary productivity is a part which is utilized by the plant for its own metabolism, and remaining amount is stored by the plant as net primary production, which is available to consumers. Herbivores, those animals those directly eat green plants, is known as primary consumer or herbivores. They are insects, birds, rodents and ruminants. Next is carnivores. They are the secondary consumers, and if they feed on herbivores or tertiary consumers, if they use carnivores as their food. Example: lion, tiger, cat, dog and frog, and many all other animals. Lastly, some animals or organisms are omnivores. Omnivores are those that eat both plant and animals. Human also include in the omnivores category. Pig, bear and other organisms, those who eat plant and animals are included in omnivores. Lastly, next category is decomposer. Decomposer are those that take care of the dead animal remains of any organisms at each trophic level and help in recycling of the nutrient. Example: decomposers include bacteria and fungi, many other bacteria and fungi. So, there are two types of food chain. First is grazing and second is detritus. Grazing food chain start from the green plants that make their food for herbivores and herbivores in turn for the carnivores. And detritus food chain starts from the dead organic matter to the detritivore organisms, which in turn make food for protozoan or to carnivores. Next function of ecosystem is food web. In natural system, food chains are not linear, rather they are interconnected and make a web. This is known as food web, and one organism may be a member of several food chains. Example: we are taking example of frog. Frog can consume fish, insect and snail, and it can be food for snake or any other carnivorous bird. So, dead remains of all level are taken care by the decomposers, bacteria and fungi. Next we talk about energy flow. When we talk about energy flow, the flow of energy in an ecosystem is always linear or one way, and quantity of energy flowing through the successive trophic levels decreases as shown in the reduced size of the box in next slide. So, you are seeing boxes are reducing left to right. So, this is a model of energy flow through an ecosystem. These boxes indicate the standing crop biomass and pipes indicate the energy flowing. There are two words are using. NU means non-utilized and R for respiration. So, when we take example, if plant produces 10,000 kilocalories, then it moves to herbivores, it is 1000, then primary consumer it is 100 kilocalories and then 10 kilocalories. This shows any food chain energy flow is in linear form and also decreases at each level. So, at every step in a food chain or web, the energy received by the organism is used to sustain itself and leftover is passed to the next trophic level. And it follows 10% law, as we already told. 10,000 kilocalorie primary production to 1000 kilocalories to 100 kilocalories and 10 kilocalories to at top carnivores. Now, we are talking about ecological pyramids. They are the graphical representation of any trophic label in an ecosystem. They are pyramidal in shape and they are of three types: pyramid of number, pyramid of biomass and pyramid of energy. The producers make the base of the pyramid and the subsequent tiers of the pyramid represent herbivore, carnivore and top carnivores. So, first we will talk about pyramid of number. This represents a number of organisms at each trophic level. We take example of grassland. Number of grasses is more than the number of herbivores and the number of herbivores is more than the number of carnivores. So, in some instance the pyramid of number may be inverted. Herbivores are more than primary producer, as you may observe that many caterpillars and insects feed on a single tree, and each trophic label there is a loss of biomass and each trophic label has a certain mass of living material termed as standing crop. Because there is a loss of biomass, the biomass of pyramid is a representation of biomass uses at the following label of an ecosystem, and it symbolizes the link between producers and consumers. Dry weight of an ecosystem is easier to determine than the number of organisms or the rate of energy flow at each trophic label, and in different environment the biomass pyramid may be upright or inverted. Next is pyramid of biomass. This represents the total standing crop biomass at each trophic label. Standing crop mass biomass is the amount of the living matter at a given time, and it is expressed as gram per unit area or kilocalories per unit area, and pyramid of biomass is mostly upright. So, however, in case of aquatic ecosystem the pyramid of biomass may be inverted. We can take example as a phytoplankton in a pond are a main producers. They have very short life cycle and a rapid turnover rate. Therefore, their biomass at any given time is less than the biomass of herbivores supported by them. Next pyramid is pyramid of energy. This pyramid represents the total amount of energy at each trophic level, and energy is expressed in terms of weight such as kilocal per calories per unit area per unit time or calories per unit area per unit time. Energy pyramids are never inverted, they are always upright. So, now we talk about ecological efficiency, and this rule is proposed by Lindemann in 1942. Ecological efficiency is a combination of several related efficiencies and describe resource utilization and the extent to which resources are converted into biomass. Assimilation energy efficiency is the amount of assimilation divided by the amount of food ingestion. So, net primary production efficiency is the amount of consumer production divided by the amount of assimilation. So, now we talk about the formula of energy efficiency. So, ecological efficiency, also known as Lindman's efficiency, because Lindman has coined this efficiency formula. So, this can be represented as IT into 100 upon IT minus 1, ingestion at trophic level into 100 upon ingestion at previous trophic level minus 1. So, now we talk about the significance or benefit. Why do we study food chain? Study of food chain helps in understanding the feeding relations and interaction among different organisms of an ecosystem. It explains the flow of energy and circulation of materials in ecosystem, and it also helps in understanding the concept of biomagnification in ecosystem. There are more than 40 elements required for the various life processes was by plants and animals, and the entire earth or biosphere is a closed ecosystem, that is, nutrients are neither imported nor exported from the biosphere. In ecosystem, flow of nutrient is cyclical. This is because the nutrient cycle from dead remains of organisms released back into the soil by retrievers, which are absorbed again by the plants. This recycling of the nutrient is known as biogeochemical or nutrient cycle. There are two important components of a biogeochemical cycle. First is reservoir pool and second is cycling pool or compartment of cycle. Reservoir pool, atmosphere or rock which stores large amount of nutrient, and in case of cycling pool, they are relatively short storage of carbon in the form of plant and animals. So, first we will talk about the nitrogen cycle. Nitrogen cycle is completed into 5 steps. First is fixation, second is nitrification, third is assimilation, fourth is ammonification, and last one is denitrification. We will talk about little bit detail in for each step. First we will talk about fixation. Atmospheric nitrogen must be fixed in a usable form to be taken up by the plant, and it can be done by lightning fixation, industrial fixation, or bacterial fixation. Lightning fixation, lightning, combustion and volcanic activity help in the fixation of nitrogen. In case of industrial fixation, at high temperature and high pressure, molecular nitrogen is broken into atomic nitrogen, which can then combines with hydrogen to form ammonia. Third type of fixation is bacterial fixation. It can be done by the 2 types of bacteria, symbiotic bacteria and free living bacteria. Symbiotic bacteria examples are rhizobium in the root nodules of the leguminous plants, and free living bacteria like Azotobacter, Nostoc, Cyanobacteria. They can combine atmospheric or dissolved nitrogen with hydrogen to form ammonia. Second step is nitrification, is the process by which ammonia is converted into nitrate or nitrite by Nitrosomonas and Nitrococcus bacteria respectively. Another soil bacteria, Nitrobacter, can also convert nitrate into nitrite. Third step is assimilation. In the process of assimilation, nitrogen fixed by the plants is converted into organic molecules like proteins, DNA, RNA. They make the plants and animal tissues. Fourth step is ammonification. Nitrogenous based product like urea and uric acid and dead remains of the organism are converted back into the inorganic ammonia by the ammonifying bacteria, and this process is known as ammonification. Last step is denitrification, means conversion of nitrates back into the gaseous nitrogen Denitrifying bacteria live in deep soil near the water table and oxygen-free medium. Pseudomonas and Clostridium are denitrifying anaerobic bacteria. Next biogeochemical cycle is carbon cycle, and this cycle is also step in several steps. First, photosynthesis, respiration, decomposition, combustion, and impact of human activities too. So, we will take little bit detail about steps of carbon cycle. First is photosynthesis. We all know what is photosynthesis. In the presence of sunlight, atmospheric carbon dioxide, which is an inorganic carbon, is converted into organic carbon in the form of food. Second, we all breathe, and the process performed by all living organisms in which food is metabolized to release energy and carbon dioxide, that is respiration. Third step is decomposition after death. The remaining organic matter of plant and animal is completely decomposed to release carbon dioxide into atmosphere. Combustion means burning of biomass releasing carbon dioxide back into the atmosphere. Last and most important step for carbon dioxide is the impact of human activities. Global carbon cycle is disturbed by all human activities. Carbon dioxide is increasing rapidly in the atmosphere and also causing global warming. So, now we talk about water cycle. We all know water is essential for life and no organisms can survive without water. Precipitation is the only source of water on the earth, and water received from the atmosphere on the earth returns back to the atmosphere as water vapor resulting from direct evaporation and through evapotranspiration. The continuous movement of water in the biosphere is known as hydrological cycle or water cycle. And we know Earth is the only planet of the solar system which has water, and about 2/3 of the Earth's surface is covered with water. But we have very little amount of the fresh water, very small fraction we can say is available for plants and animals. So, water is not evenly distributed throughout the surface of the earth. Almost 95% of the total water on the earth is chemically bound to rocks and does not cycle. So, out of the remaining 5%, nearly 97.3% is in the oceans and 2.1% exists as polar ice. So, only 0.6% is present as fresh water in the form of atmospheric water vapor drowned in soil water. And driving force for water cycle are solar radiation and gravity. So, this is water cycle. Have precipitation, condensation, transpiration, evaporation, runoff and infiltration. So, natural water cycle is the continuous movement of water around the world throughout the process of evaporation, condensation, precipitation and transpiration. And the mass of water on earth remains fairly constant. So, now we talk about steps. First, we talk about evaporation. Transformation of water from liquid to gas phases by the solar radiation into the overlying atmosphere. Evaporation includes transpiration from plants, though together they are specifically referred as a evapotranspiration. 86% of the global evaporation occurs over the ocean. Second step is condensation, transformation of water vapor to liquid water droplets in the air, creating clouds and fog. Then precipitation, condensed water vapor falls on the surface, and most precipitation occurs as rain, but also includes snow, hail, fog and drip. Next, we will talk about homeostasis. So, every ecosystem are capable of maintaining their state of equilibrium, and they can regulate their own species structure and functional processes through homeostasis. So, what is homeostasis? Capacity of ecosystem of self-regulation, and in ecology the term applies to the tendency for a biological system to resist changes. We can take example as an example for study homeostasis. If the population of zooplankton increase, they would consume large number of the plankton. As a result, soon zooplanktons would be short supply of food for them. As the number of zooplankton is reduced because of starvation, phytoplankton population start increasing. After some time, the population size of the zooplanktons also increases, and this process continues at all the trophic levels of the food chain. So, we can say a homeostasis system negative feedback mechanism is responsible for maintaining stability in an ecosystem. So, however, homeostatic capacity of an ecosystem is not unlimited, as well as not everything is in ecosystem is always regulated, well regulated. If you will learn about the scope and limitations, homeostasis, static mechanism, then you will gain knowledge about ecosystem, and humans are the greatest source of disturbance of an ecosystem. As we approach the conclusion of this discussion, before we wrap up the program, let us make a moment to revisit the key points what we have explored during this program in the form of what you have learned. An ecosystem is a functionally independent unit of abiotic and biotic component of the biosphere. Climatic regime, inorganic substances, organic compounds, producers, micro-consumers and micro-consumers are the structural component of an ecosystem. Functional process and ecosystem are energy flow, food chains, nutrient cycle, ecosystem development and homeostasis. All the abiotic factors such as light, temperature, pressure, humidity, topography and various nutrients limits the growth and distribution of animals and plants, and all living organisms of an ecosystem are interdependent through food chains and food web, and removal of any species of the community causes ecological imbalance. And sources of energy for all the ecosystem is solar radiation, which is absorbed by autotrophs and passed onto the consumers in the form of organic substances. Energy flow is always downhill and unidirectional. Trophic relationships of an organism in an ecosystem can be represented graphically in the form of ecological pyramids. The base of the pyramid represents a producer and successive tiers represent subsequent higher levels. Nutrients move from the non-living to the living and back to the non-living component of an ecosystem in a more or less circular manner. These nutrient cycles are known as biogeochemical cycles. The main component of all the biogeochemical cycles are reservoir pool that contains the major bulk of a nutrient or soil or atmosphere, and cyclic pool, which are the living organisms, that is producers, consumers and decomposers, soil, water and air in which it stays temporarily. So, let us wrap up lesson number 5, ecosystem. We hope you enjoyed exploring the fascinating world of environmental science with us. We will be back soon with another exciting program of environmental science. Until then, thank you and goodbye.
सुरक्षित करने